You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you, and I'm glad you're here with us. We're going to have a great show for you today. It is Thursday, August the 3rd, 2023, and there's lots to talk about as usual. And so I'm at our home studio here, and there's a lot of different equipment than I'm used to at the other studio. So it's always an interesting beginning to the show, but thanks for being with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM. We're also live streaming at cklu.ca. Click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. And you can also listen to other great CKLU programming and take that with you and listen to it anywhere, anytime. On the Radio Player Canada app, that is. And so we're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. And we're grateful to the moderators there. And also we want to encourage you to, as you could still do, I think, is share information. Not only, you see articles on our Facebook page, but share the show while you can still share it. I'm kind of just scrambling here because it's something that I'm not even aware of how it's going to impact us. And I'm talking about Bill C-11, Bill C-18, the Online News Act. And so for now, like, share, subscribe, follow, all those things on our social media platforms while we still can before it's taken away. And I think this next Tuesday is when it's the official, you won't be able to share anything, any news-related items on Facebook anymore. But anyways, we're going to be getting into that and much, much more on the rest of the show, but I guess we have some people already joining us. Vin, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Monique, good morning. Sudbury. Belinda, good morning. You can't cross the sea by merely standing and watching the water. That's an interesting one. Very positive. Again, there you go. Thanks for sharing that. Vin says, I'm grateful to the shows on CKLU. Caught the show on the road yesterday. Oh, cool. Yes. And so CKLU, your campus and community radio station, has been around since 1984, originally broadcasting from a little trailer on the Laurentian campus on the hill on Ramsey Lake Road. But then later, currently now, it's all in the old Telegraph building and part of the new school, McEwen School of Architecture, and somewhat beautiful downtown Sudbury. I guess that's it would be up to a person to whether to say it's beautiful or not, but it can be beautiful at times. Some people would argue that it is not as beautiful maybe as it once was in the past. But yeah, we are located in downtown Sudbury. And I'm broadcasting from my studio remotely. I'm not actually at that studio currently, but through technology, the wonders of technology, we're able to do that. And we're able to be together on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and over the radio and streaming. So that's wonderful. It's great to have technology to be able to accomplish that as well. Tracy, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Shane. Thanks for being with us. Great conversation last night. Looking forward to having you on the show this next Wednesday. and I'll introduce you to everyone then. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Hope you'll enjoy the Civic holiday weekend. Yes, Louise, and thanks for reminding me. I keep forgetting that. Judy, good morning. Thanks for being with us as well. Let's dive right in with some weather, and we'll be back with news headlines, comments, and we'll be talking a little bit about Justin Trudeau today. So just a spoiler alert, obviously. And, does that impact us in any way, shape, or form? What can we glean from that? And there's a lot of news headlines. I have a couple videos to share as well. Did you find out who displaced your gear yesterday? No, I did not. And just for the record, gear was not displaced. It was just seemed like it was moved around and tampered with kind of thing. But yeah, displaced in that way, yes. No, I didn't find out anything. And who knows, it could have been me. It could have just been, I didn't realize I left the lights on and I handled my equipment in a way that I wouldn't normally do, but just seemed weird. Anyways, wouldn't be the first time. But we'll be back after this weather report brought to you by sudburyweather.ca right after this. All right, as I said, Sudbury Weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca, and it's currently 17 degrees. It's mostly cloudy out there, and today we can expect mainly cloudy for the day, and also a 70% chance of showers, a risk of the thunderstorm, and the high will be 25, and the humidex 30, and the UV index will be 5 or moderate. Tonight, mainly cloudy, 70% chance of showers. In the evening, a risk of thunderstorm, and the low tonight will be 14. Friday, mainly cloudy, high of 23, humidex 26. The UV index will be 7 or very high. Long range, 6-day forecast, again, mostly cloudy. For tomorrow, high of 23, sunny on Saturday, high of 25, cloudy on Sunday, high of 23. 40% chance of showers on Monday with a high of 22, a 30% chance of showers on Tuesday, high of 23, and a 60% chance of showers on Wednesday, and a high of 20. Yeah, we've had, at least in the forecast, a lot of rain forecasted. I think half the time we actually got the rain, but yeah, it's been a nice mix for the gardens and for everything green, and maybe even for the fire situation. So that's been a positive here in Greater Sudbury. Look at your satellite. You can see that activity right over, Sault Ste. Marie, almost up to Timmins, all the way to Sudbury, and later North Bay. But a lot of precipitation activity, and that was taken at 4:30 a.m., so it isn't that far off. It was only 3 hours ago. So that's your Sudbury Weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with headlines, your comments, and much, much more right after this. Okay, and we are back. We're indeed back, and we do have some stories to talk about. I'm just not sure how, anyways, in my mind, I'm discombobulated because the show has been so kind of automated with Facebook. It's been a huge part of the show. So I just share the stories we're going to talk about every day on my Facebook page, and then we go through them. And now that Facebook, in answer to the Online News Act, Bill C-11, Bill C-18 of our federal government, Facebook has said we're no longer going to make news in Canada, or for Canadians, make international news shareable on Facebook. So we won't be able to share news anymore on Facebook. Now, Google is still to come out with what they're going to be doing. It could be similar. So now I'll have to come up with a different way of getting all the news in one spot and just easily being able to share it. Nothing will be as easy as this, I'm sure. It'll just be extra work on my part to gather the news and make it So that way it's all in one place and I can just go to each story one after another, which Facebook made it so easy. Anyways, so it is what it is. Organizers shares examples of online hate sent to North Bay Pride. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it just seemed to be coming up more and more and more on the different in the different news outlets here in Sudbury. It's North Bay, right? So, but I guess it's close enough. But I guess there are some things in there that could relate to Sudbury as well. Good morning, Maurice. Thanks for being with us. Nice smiley emoji or a sun emoji. Great to see those. Nice and positive. So, of course, there's a quote from the story here, but I just gonna share the story. There's some telling things, I think, as part of this. So what happened was, anyways, we'll just go through the story. So North Bay Pride's Jason McLennan is known there for being outspoken on his views and wavering support for the 2S LGBTQI plus community, often through his Life Through Queer Eyes column found in the Bay Today. In response to the frequent comments McLennan sees or hears doubting the legitimacy of the need for safe spaces for the 2S LGBTQI plus community, the communications director for North Bay Pride is sharing examples of recent online hate the group has been targeted with. We've seen comments online like, and this is a comment, people like you need to be put in a wood chipper. And another comment, you should be chained to the back of motorcycles and dragged through downtown to send a clear message. You are not wanted here. To you and everyone else like you. End of quote. Then, of course, there's all the misinformation about sexualizing children or performing in front of children or trans folks using washrooms, etc., he adds. So a couple of things there. So there's, wow, those are hateful quotes. And I think what I would do in terms of that is send those quotes to the local police and say, someone's made a threat against me. And through the online division in the police, they could track down who that was and take care of it with the whatever the law allows to take care of these things, because I don't think you can go around saying these things to people, as far as I know. So why isn't that action being taken? Why aren't they taking that course of action? I don't know. So I would do that. If someone was making that kind of statement to me, I would definitely go there. So a couple comments here. It's because we're tired of Pride season and the vulgar nudity that accompanies it. Even the gay community is against it. So I have heard many things to that regard. I have people in my family also from that community who say, that's not me. Like, I don't, it's very politicized and all the political things about it. I have nothing to do with that. They're very conservative, actually, in their views, and they don't like certain people speaking for them. Stephen says, yes, the misinformation, where is it coming from? I guess, yeah. Is it indeed misinformation? I don't know. So that's another thing I wanted to go back to. There is misinformation about sexualizing children. So we would just have to define what that means, sexualizing children. And it may or may not be true, right? If it is about teaching children very young in the schools about sexual acts and things that they're too young to be learning about, well then, yeah, that is, I would say, falls under the guises of sexualizing children. So I don't see that as being misinformation. I don't condone hate and violence, and neither do I. That's what I mean. I think they should have just taken these statements to the police. Like, that's what I would do if someone did it to me. But they're going to handle it in a different way, and we'll look at that right now. That may have been the intent of the bills. Oh yeah, Google and Facebook the whole time to hide international nefarious independentness and policies that are identical in each government at the will of the WEF. They presumed they could promote their will publicly. It's bit them in the you know what. Yeah, I guess so. So now they just have to silence all conversation about it, possibly. I have no idea. That's going back to what we were talking about previously, Bill C-11, Bill C-18, the Online News Act here in Canada. They probably are taking that action in addition to this approach to staying safe. They do not mention any of that in the article. And it would be, I guess, as a reporter, maybe it's on the journalists' side that they were negligent in not mentioning that, because they do say, because of these things, we're going to do this, and that's what we're going to unpack here, right? You would think they've made the necessary steps and been to the authorities, and you would think, because of recent accusations that the police aren't in line with supporting them and things, that would be a thing. You know what I mean? They would go to the police said they're not going to do anything or something. Or the police said, yes, we're doing something, and they're too slow in action. Or you would think that would be part of it. But they don't mention going to the police in any way, shape, or form in this article. And that would be the first thing I would think I would respond to doing if I was given these statements by people of hate. The article politically sounds rather convenient, doesn't it? I don't know. Something smells fishy about the statements. So this is my case in point. So if they were to take these to the police can, through their cybercrime unit, find out who in fact made these statements, right? And target these individuals. It smells a little bit like the whole swastika flag or rebel flag in the trucker protest. All you had to do was go down and find out who this individual was. A police officer could have went to the person, asked for ID, and it could have even been publicized. This person is Joe Smith, lives at this address, and is linked to all these. No, they liked it actually with nobody knowing who they were. That way they can link it to everybody who is there. But you should have went down and found out who those individuals were. There were two flags, one rebel flag and one swastika flag. Two people. Very easy to find out. They had a big flag there. It's easy to find them in the crowd. You go up to them and you say, can I see some ID, please? Because these are kind of hateful flags. And they probably, what are you trying to say with these hateful flags? You know, and find out who the person is. I mean, they police ask people for their ID for way less things than things like that. So, I mean, I was delivering papers one time and they had to ask me for my ID just because I was delivering papers, and I guess I looked like I was getting in trouble. I have no idea. But anyways, very curious about the Bill C-11 and 18 has royal descent. Yes, apparently they say that it does. Seems the authorities only step in when someone gets hurt, and that is true too. However, you don't know. I would like to see if they went to the authorities with these hateful comments, and because that's pretty violent too, right? You should be chained to the back of a motorcycle and dragged through downtown, you know, and that would send a clear message you're not wanted here and everyone else like you. Like, come on. Like, we do have laws against hate speech in Canada, and I think that would qualify. And so police should uphold the law. So you take this to the police. So I'm wondering, and it's just because I do. So are these coming from legitimate people, or is it somebody just saying these things? Is it legitimate? So if you take it to the police, they would be able to get to the bottom of it. And then that would let us know whether or not they are indeed comments. So I'm not just going to, if I went on and said, so-and-so said this about me or to me, I'd like to get to the bottom of it, right? So it doesn't look like they're trying to get to the bottom of it. It looks like they're using these statements in a political way to just say, someone said this, and now we're going to do this. So I have that question. Are you just saying this? Are you making this up? I'm not accusing you of it. I'm just asking you if you're doing it. Because you could be. Someone could just be making these up, right? And then going to the press. And is the press going to ask, where did these statements come from? Who said them? You know, why aren't they asking that? Because I would just right away go, okay, these are just two individuals. Get the individuals. Don't paint paint everybody in the community, or there's this big group of people that are hating on you. There are 2 individuals or 3 individuals. How many individuals said these things? And so treat them for what actions they've done. Like, so if they've done something wrong, it's like charging everyone in the community because one person did something. One person sped, so everyone's going to get a speeding ticket. Makes no sense whatsoever. Right? So, and again, in today's climate, with everyone getting all excited and beating drums and getting out there and, you know, being activists and all this thing, you have to be aware of these kinds of things. It's like, I look at it as children. My children come to me and say, one, my brother stole this from me. Okay, you don't just go, oh, and you start reprimanding the other child right away and giving them a punishment and whatever. You sit them down and say, okay, what happened here? Who did it? Where did it come from? You know, find out maybe one was lying, you know, and that's you know, I think we're losing a little bit of that in our society today. So Vin says the swastika flag in Ottawa, 3 different angles of the exact same person in the exact same place. Curiously, he was never seen anywhere else. How convenient. For sure, exactly. That was Antifa. So again, if we would have found out who that person was, that's Tracy saying, it could have been Antifa, right? So you have to, if you find out who the person is, it dispels all of these theories then. And, well, it wouldn't be so convenient in the political realm where you can just paint the flag of all these protesters they're all Nazis, right? Certainly appears to be a plant. Whatever pushes their agenda. Exactly. So in order to avoid these things, you get clarity and you can avoid all these discussions. How doesn't it look like they're also taking that other measure with the police? It doesn't say, oh, it was Pepescu, LOL. That's funny. So it doesn't mention police in here. It doesn't mention they went to the police, they said anything and what the police said. That's all I'm saying. It just doesn't mention it. They could have done it. I think it should have been, because people get all upset about things like this. People rise up and start getting hateful back too. Like they lash out in hate back to this. So let's say this could have been just easily dispelled. This was some guy, let's say it was someone who has schizophrenia in his basement, living in his mother's basement. And he's the only one who made all these accusations. One guy who has schizophrenia, who isn't taking his meds in a basement. And that's who made these statements. Let's just say that was the case. How different would this story be then? A little different, right? It would be. So I think it's important to find out who the freak is saying these statements. I just think it is. Other than that, it's creating a lot of emotional whatever for nothing, to me. But if it is a hater, go through the channels of the law, which it's supposed to do. Funny that the media has brought up how communities in southwestern Ontario getting more hate against new immigrants as well. I looked at the article, not really much info on it. Exactly. You start asking questions. Is this really true? Are there a lot of people hating? How are they hating? Who's doing the hating? What did they do? When did they do it? It's just people are hating more. Okay, people are hating more. I guess I need to accept that. It's become normalized to lump everyone together as both the victim and the perpetrators. If you were anti-mandate, you were deemed far right and anti-vax. Exactly. We love doing stuff like this. Historically, police have not been allies to LGBTQ plus community. And again, historically, police have not been allies to me. So historically, I've had so many bad run-ins with the police in my life, so many, that if I could relate to a marginalized community in some way, the short man syndrome group, and say, oh, they're doing this because I'm short. I'm a short man. So yeah, that must be why they're treating me so bad. It was just a police officer trying to throw their weight around with me. I don't think that has anything to do with race or sexual preference or anything like that. Lots of citizens are hearing from police that their causes for calling police are sufficiently urgent, not sufficiently urgent. Sure. But anyways, you would still try and go down the proper channels, I would think, in a law-abiding country. We would still kind of try and go through, right? We're trying to burn everything down and everything's activism. Just bypass everything. And then you become a lawless society, and anarchy is what you have. If you want that, that's fine. Go ahead. Have that society. I'll ask you in 10 years how that's working for you. I'm sorry, but after all the atrocities that have been thrust upon us in the last couple of years, something has to give. You can only push people so far before there is a major pushback. Canadians are broke and fed up. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same as you. So let's go on with this article. Oh yeah, so you have now other politicians weighing in on the North Bay thing. So they're all banding together. So you have the mayor of Toronto, the MP, Wong Tam, the Toronto Centre MPP, also publicly calling for Premier Doug Ford and Nipissing MPP Vic Fideli to address Pride safety. So they've canceled the Pride Parade in results of this hate, this online hate that we don't know who did it. We don't know if it really is someone with schizophrenia in their mom's basement not taking their meds. We don't know that. So we're going to go out and take action on something that we're not sure where it's coming from, who's saying it, but we'll just take your word for it. It's hate, and we're going to cancel a Pride Parade, something that's very positive. I guess you're going out there and celebrating something, right? So they're going to cancel that because they're afraid. And this is the Toronto MPP saying, I'm heartbroken to think that young queer and trans Ontarians who will now not get to go out to their first full Pride parade in their home city due to safety threats. So they're commenting on this, not even knowing who's saying these things. They don't even ask, well, I want to make sure, who are these threats coming from? Did the proper action take place to use the law to go after these people yet? Nothing like that. I'm also discouraged to hear about the lack of action and engagement from North Bay's local MPP on this matter. Again, political, right? Two different parties. Intentional or not, this sends a clear message to Ontarians that if you are two-spirit, queer or trans, this government will not have your back. Is that a true statement this person is making, or is that political? Because you're in a different party, you're using this, who we don't even know who made the statements, and now it's getting out of hand, and now you're making this a big political thing saying government doesn't have a minority's back. Is that true? I don't know. North Bay Pride is grateful for Wong Tam support. Oh, that's good. They're all having a group hug through the media. Going back to a protest instead of celebrating who we are. So this is the thing. Instead of having a pride parade, because of these comments of hate, they're going to have a protest, a public protest, which will look exactly the same way as the pride parade, only the reason for it will be a protest, not a celebration. So how afraid are you of these accusation or this hate speech? How afraid really are you? You canceled the Pride Parade because you're afraid someone's going to come out and hate on you. But then you turn it right around and you just change it into a protest. You're going to be out on the same streets. The same people are going to be out on the same streets with a different message. That's it. So what's wrong with this picture? You're afraid. If I was afraid there was a ghost, my house is haunted, and I felt a particular room was haunted, and I had to go in there and grab something, and I was afraid to go in there. But, if I just change why I was going in there, and I'm not going to go in there to get that. I'm still afraid of the ghost. I'm going to go in there to do something different. I'm going to go in there to open the window. So that's going to change things. It's like, what? You're either afraid or you're not. You're going in the same room. Like, what's changed here? They're just going to go out and protest. So they want to use this as a protest to hate speech we don't even know who it came from or even if it's real. And it's going to get all kinds of media attention. And they're all going to say, yeah, look, everyone's hating. Everyone's hating because they're saying there's these people hating on them online. And this is what they said. Even, in fact, no one's investigated it. Nobody knows for sure whether the statements are true. This person themselves could have made it up. And I'm not saying they did, but they could have, because we don't know, right? So this is, I think, interesting. Good morning, my friend Gilles. Thanks for being with us. We're talking about North Bay, Gilles. So this is in your neck of the woods. They're turning the Pride Parade into a protest because of speech that was hateful, that we don't know if it was indeed even true. It even came from a person. We don't know who it came from. We don't know if any action's been taken, but we're going to have a huge protest instead of a pride parade because they're afraid of these people, but they're still going to go out on the same streets and the same people in the same area. I don't understand that. I don't get the logic. So I'm just sharing comments because many, many comments are coming in. And for those listening on the radio, you'll have to go back and watch the archive show on YouTube or Facebook to get them. So I appreciate all your comments, by the way. Anyways, if I'm having some questions about this, I'm sure other people are as well. And do I hate sorry, I have to read it because memorizing it is impossible. The 2S LGBTQ plus 2I plus community. Do I hate them? I don't. But some can construe what I'm even saying with the problem I'm having with this. Is that hate? Am I hating by saying this, by having a question about this? The question about, I couldn't care if you were protesting about not enough paper clips in the world. So if I'm a paperclip advocate and we're going to have a paperclip parade, and then someone says, I hate paper clips, they're the stupidest thing, you don't need them anymore, you don't even need paper, you should die. Wait a minute, we're going to cancel the parade and we're going to go out and protest. We need more paper clips, and there should be no buddy saying that they disagree with it and whatever. And if someone told me they're going to kill me or they're going to inflict pain in me in any way, shape, or form, the last thing I would do is go out right into a public area where I think I'm going to be assaulted or accosted if I'm indeed afraid. And that's the whole reason for canceling my parade. See, you know what I mean? Don't get it. And I'm not hating on anybody. I just don't get the logic. Don't get the logic. And apparently the reporter from Sudbury.com or the Bay Today don't get the logic either. Or they do, and they're activists themselves, and they really want this to be pushed out there forward, because we do have a lot of journalist activists, by the way, because activism is taught in our schools. And if they went to school for journalism, they would have been taught activism. Like when I was in university and we had a feminist a writer on a panel, and I said, well, how do you, and she made a textbook for the university, and the way she was talking was really activist like. It was like, there's no other way but feminism, you know what I mean? It's the patriarchy, all men are evil. Basically, that's what she was saying. And then I asked a question afterwards, because I was new in university and kind of not familiar with how it ran. I said, how do you remain unbiased in your textbook? Because your textbook is to teach something other than activism, which you are an activist, obviously, but the textbook is people are learning communications through your textbook, but obviously you're very one-sided. How do you try to be unbiased with your textbook? And she goes, I don't. I'm very unbiased in my textbook. I'm teaching people to be activists in my textbook. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. So that's what's being taught in universities. If you don't believe me, go back to university or go to university and see what's being taught today. And so journalists are coming through these institutions, and they're being indoctrinated, and they're told activism first, everything else second, because we all need to be united in overthrowing capitalism, the patriarchy, the colonial, this, that, and the other. It's basically a religion that's taught through our universities. And with that, I'll say the comments and anything said on this show are that of myself or anyone who is commenting on the show, and don't necessarily reflect that of Laurentian University, its faculty, CKLU, or the staff of CKLU. They're that entirely of my own or anyone else who is commenting on this show. Okay, so let's move on. This is interesting. So this is the result we get, I guess, with all this polarization going on in our world. A man wearing a bulletproof vest, toting a pistol, is arrested in, of all places, Espanola. So a man goes into a business with a pistol and a bulletproof vest on. So what did they do immediately? Did they call the media and say, someone's in my place with a pistol and a bulletproof vest? I really want to do a story on this because I feel, I'm threatened. No, they called the police. Exactly. That's what I would do as well if someone came in with a gun and a bulletproof vest. But how odd someone's going into a business in Espanola with a bulletproof vest and a gun. That was shared. That was Sudbury.com. You can read more about that. I shared that on my Facebook page as well. Sudbury employers invited to an immigration information meeting. Greater Sudbury Development Corporation, the GSDC, and the Greater City of Sudbury are hosting a community session for Northern Immigration Pilot Program, the RNP, next Wednesday. So they want your input into this. And here's a chance for you, if you're any way, shape, or form interested in how the city is handling the immigration that we have, and we're trying to retain people, new Canadians here in the city, or people in the process of becoming Canadians. And we have some high goals to bring in, a certain amount of people into our community. If you want to say in that, go on our Facebook page, click on the Sudbury.com article. We'll go right to Sudbury.com, and you can find out how you can do that. Now, big breaking news yesterday was our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Good morning, David. Stay safe for sure. Glad to have you on, and I hope I know you said you're in there for 90 days, so I hope you're making safe and speedy recovery. Trudeau divorce, only other PM whose marriage ended in office. The only other one would be Justin's dad, Pierre Trudeau, whose marriage also ended while he was in office. Interesting, it was father and son the only time this happened in our history. I would never gloat on the fact that Justin Trudeau broke up with his wife. I think that is very personal, and it's something that he's going through very publicly. And I know a lot of the media I've heard has said, okay, now we're going to need to handle this with kid gloves. He is a person. We don't want to be too hard on him. He's going through things. Well, that's just a media that's obviously shows that they're on the side of that particular party or leader, right? If it would have been another party or another leader, they wouldn't be saying the same thing. I could guarantee you that. But it is true. I would do, just as a person, as a human being, I would not want to make anything more of what that is, other than most of our population separate and get divorces nowadays. More do that than stay together. So it's not that uncommon. Was I that surprised that he's being separated from his wife? No, it's a kind of a common thing in our society. That's why we discuss and research to find and share the truth. This is how we make a difference, for sure. Don't get all caught up in the hoopla of things. That's from Belinda. I wish it was that easy for us to separate from Trudeau. Okay. So again, is he immune to people like making jokes or whatever? I don't think so. As a public figure, you are in the public, and that's what it is. You can guarantee. I don't know what you're speaking of. Can I guarantee what exactly, Stephen? I don't understand what your question is, but definitely just clarify, and I'll have no problem answering that question. But if it is indeed guarantee that I would be respectful in whatever way I would be to any other human being on the planet, like I would be anyways, I would be, for sure. Am I a fan of Justin Trudeau's ideology or his policies? I could probably be no further opposite from what he stands for politically. But as a human being, I would treat him and anyone else with the same respect, and I do that, and I would just, it would be proven by anyone who knows me, anyone who works with me, anyone who's a friend of mine. I would treat everyone with the same respect. Whether you are the Prime Minister or you're experiencing homelessness currently, you get the same respect from me. I'm sorry for them. The separation was 3+ years in the making. Oh, interesting. All I have to say, though, was he did do that press conference and we made a comment about the Band-Aid on his forehead, and he attributed it to playing with his children. I don't know there. My inquiring mind kind of goes, I don't know, was there an argument that led to the final decision and it ended up with him, something, getting injured or whatever and had to wear a Band-Aid? To me, that's all I was just curious about that one. You said that you can guarantee that if it were a leader from another party, that the media would treat it differently. Yeah, I can guarantee that for sure. The only sympathy I have is with the children, for sure. Again, right? So when you're in the public eye so long, and he wasn't just in the public eye after being in office, his childhood, he was in public eye too because of his dad being Prime Minister. And his mom wasn't, out of the public eye in any way, shape, or form either. There was a lot of media coverage on her social life and how, promiscuity, with rock stars and other world leaders and things like that, it wasn't a secret, and so it was very public. And so he was a child during all that. I'm sure he had to deal with a lot of things like that, and now in his own life, he will now have to deal with that. I guess time will tell on how all this plays out. Justin Trudeau and wife, Sophie Gregory, no, I'll just call her Sophie Trudeau, separating because I'm not going to go the French route just because my pronunciation will not be sufficient. 18 years they were married. 3 children. I guess ongoing we'll be talking more about that. Fitch cuts U.S. credit rating to AA+. Treasury calls it arbitrary. This is not arbitrary in any way, shape, or form. So the Feds got their credit rating cut. The U.S. used to have AAA credit rating. Best in the world. Their economy was the economy of the world. The petrodollar, mainly rooted in the United States, was the dollar accepted around the world, and that is now changing. And they're basically on the brink of bankruptcy in the United States. Now their credit rating is coming down. They barely passed the vote to increase their debt ceiling limit. They're on life support financially in the United States. And that will have implications throughout the world. She was complacent with his criminal activity. I have no sympathy for either one. Okay, Belinda, definitely know how you feel on that subject for sure. And again, criminal activity, his actions, his politics, separate from personal life, I would think. Personal life, I can, my heart goes out to him. We all, have personal lives and they're different from our public life. However, you as a public figure, you almost can't, have a private life per se. Your private life will be public to some degree or another. Walmart, this is the last story we'll end with this before a bit of a foray into what we could see as, Trudeau's policies and the rise in crime, and does some of the policies he's instituted have anything to do with the rise in crime that we've seen, violent crime that is, throughout our country since he's been in office. Some Walmart locations closing self-checkouts. I can't believe this was like the story of the day yesterday. It got more likes and emojis or whatever than any other story. It was more comments and shares. Most of the comments saying, finally, let's hope other retail outlets follow their lead or follow the lead of a few of the Walmarts and just get rid of the self-checkout altogether. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think we're still going to go the way of all attendants just helping you with the self-checkout, and that's it in the future as we go cashless, as we go more streamlined and more AI everything. I'm not sure how much this is going to go backwards. Not sure if Walmart's going to make this a big thing throughout their business globally or what. How much he's affected our personal lives. That is true. That is, his policies have affected our personal lives. I mean, if you're just walking downtown and someone just randomly comes up to you and stabs you and kills you, that's going to affect your private life, I'm sure. And you realize they're just out on bail and they should have been, detained through the policies of the federal government, then yeah, that is going to affect your personal life. So thanks for sharing that. We are on life support in this country also. It's just a matter of time. We all suffer from all this spending and sending money to Ukraine. Okay. I would agree with you on that one as well. So good morning, everyone. Denise, good morning. Hope you're having a great morning. A lot of people chiming in a little bit later this morning. I guess it is what it is. Now, we had a story the other last week, and we didn't really get to it, about the crime rates up in our city, the violent crime rates. But the petty crime, if you will, is kind of down, right? So we're not sure why, but let's see. I think this is the story from our local CTV News talking about it. So we'll be back right after this. I think we need
Serious
volume,
crimes
but here we
committed
go. There you go.
For the second year in a row, the number of serious crimes committed in Sudbury was down overall for the calendar year 2022.
We have seen a decrease in the CSI in Greater Sudbury. It did go down 2.69%.
It's based on Statistics Canada's Crime Severity Index, which assigns a weighted value based on severity of crime in comparison to the population. Greater Sudbury police say break-and-enter crimes, threats, and robbery have decreased, but some types of crimes are up.
We did see an increase in the violent crimes, and this is mainly attributed to the number of homicides, sexual assaults, child pornography offenses, as well as violent firearms offenses.
Dunn says there has been an increase of violent firearm offenses across the country for the past 8 years in a row. Locally, homicides are up 64%, with 10 incidents reported last year. Sudbury's MPP says at base level, addressing some of the social health issues would likely help reduce the number of violent crimes.
When you look at statistics in terms of like full-time workers going to food banks, seniors increased use of food banks, if we can keep children out of food banks, for example, and ensure that, their parents are making decent wages and can pay their bills, and, really tackle our housing problem.
Greater Sudbury Police Service attribute the decrease in crime severity index in part to an increase in crime prevention messaging and focused patrols, where there are more officers in high crime areas. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
So they attribute the lessening, the less crime going on to more police presence and focusing on that. At the same time, did you notice what they said was up? Violent crime. So again, if I was reporting on this, I would have less emphasis on the fact that crime is down and more emphasis on, wait a minute here though. Okay, overall crime is down, but what's up? Violent crime, including gun-related issues, murders. I mean, I'd rather get broken into and have something stolen out of my house than be murdered myself. So I don't know. Anyways, violent crime. And did you hear how many years it's been since violent crime has been up? 8 years. How long has the Trudeau government been in power? 8 years. Interesting. Is there a correlation? I don't know. All we know is that for the last 8 years, it's been on the rise, violent crime here in Greater Sudbury. But it seems like the Liberals have done so much to handle the violent crime, right? So you'd think it would be going down because they're doing so much, banning all kinds of guns and you name it. So maybe we can get a little bit of insight into this next from this next segment.
There's almost no better example of how experts get things upside.
That's funny. So the video can't be played. So we'll just have to go back and redo this, see if it'll come in again. And in the meantime, I'll just... this is basically just the Toronto Sun reporter talking about, Trudeau's policies, and is there a link at all to any of the violent crimes going up and more North American. Oh, let's see here. Makes you wonder how much the trafficking is actually Antifa as well. Oh, interesting. Never thought of that. I watched the Sound of Freedom. Very sad. Very good movie. I hope the film producer releases another, bringing forward the local problems here. It will take years to undo what Trudeau has done to Canada. So the first statement was from Tracy, second from Vin. And Tracy also saying more North American. Louise, this is where it begins. So you're absolutely right. All this is associated with how many years Trudeau's been in government. Does anybody recognize Canada anymore? The Canada that we knew? Okay, so here we go. So we got the video reloaded up because I had it loaded for yesterday, and I guess it didn't like the fact that the commercials weren't going to play. So here we go. We'll make another attempt at this. We'll be back right after this.
There's almost no better example of how experts get things upside down lots of times than the spike in crime in Canada since the Liberals came to power in 2015. From 1990 to 2015, crime trended downwards mostly in Canada. Murder was down, bank robberies were down, sexual assaults were down, plain ordinary assault was down. And that's largely because crimes like that are caused mostly by young men, and the population was aging. There were fewer young men. And it's not since 2015, as crime has started to go back up, that there are more young men. There aren't. What there are is more people who are suspected of crime or who have been convicted of crime out on our streets because experts say the best way to reduce crime is to reintegrate criminals into society. Yeah, I guess that's a nice theory, but in practice it has not worked. This week, Statistics Canada released a report on police-reported crime in 2022. It goes back, the statistics in this report go back all the way into the 1980s. And what we're seeing is there was this steady trend downward until the Liberals started making reforms to bail and parole. And since that time, there has been a sharp increase in violent crime in Canada. Murder is up 39%. Sexual assault, the most serious sexual assault, which we used to call rape, is up by more than double. Robberies are up. They're not as, interestingly, not up as much as some of the other violent crimes, but personal violent crime is way up. In Edmonton, we had a case early in July where a father of 7 who'd immigrated here 9 years ago was stabbed to death by a stranger at a transit station. Toronto's had problems too with people attacked out of nowhere, out of the blue, by strangers. The guy who killed the father of 7 in Edmonton happened to be out on parole, out on bail at the time. He was awaiting trial for other violent crimes. And what did he do? He committed more violent crimes. We have decided as a country to release the people who are most likely to commit violent crime and let them free on the streets on the theory put forward by the Liberals experts that that's the best way to reduce crime. It's insane, is what it is. I think there is no better example of how ridiculous this is than the spike in crime. In Canada, since 2015, when the Liberals came to power, the overall incidence of serious violent crime has gone up 40%. Gun crime has gone up over 100%. And you say, oh, yes, well, of course, have all these bad, law-abiding gun owners who won't turn in their weapons that have been banned by the government. Of course, that's a crime. I'm not talking about administrative gun crime. I'm talking about people pointing a gun at someone else in order to commit a robbery. I'm talking about people shooting someone else. I'm talking about people committing real gun crimes. It's doubled despite the fact that the Liberals have decided to take away all sorts of rifles and shotguns from ordinary citizens. They've banned handguns. It's not what causes crime. These are the theories that Liberals and other progressives and their experts have come up with. And the recent experience of Canadians is it's just not working. For Post Media, I'm Lorne Gunter.
So there you go. There's, makes a good point about, bail reform and also taking away people's guns. Have we seen that working at all? Everybody's, they're doing so much with gun control or whatever. You would think that violent crimes with guns would go down, but it's I don't need to beat a horse, a dead horse over this, but law-abiding gun owners aren't the ones out there committing violent crimes with their guns. And it will never stop because you can always illegally get a gun no matter how many laws you pass, right? And if someone is a criminal, they really aren't going to go register their gun before they go murder somebody. I don't really need to keep saying any more than that. If you don't get that, there's no hope. So it is what it is. The numbers are the numbers. Violent crime has been going up for the last 8 years since Trudeau's been in power, and people are dying, and it's just not a good policy. How about that? The policy, how's that working for you? How's that working for you? Well, it's not working good for us. That's for sure. Sorry about your, recent personal events in your life, but that's not, the policies aren't working for us. Anyways, that's the show for the day. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate you. And we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow, God willing. And stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Have a great one, everyone, and ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.